G'day folks, thanks for stopping by for a sticky beat. I'm taking a Scribbly Gum and making it into a small tabletop. Scribbly Gum is an Australian hardwood and this one has seasoned a while. It was a dead yard tree and has also sat for over a year, so it has a small amount of spalding happening in it. So I've gone ahead and roughly gauged where I want to start my cuts, and I used a chalk line to give me a reference. I'm running the chainsaw up these lines so that I have something to follow. In hindsight, I should have used a jig or an Alaskan mill setup. Freehand vertical sawing takes a lot of practice to get right, and a jig doesn't. I'm aiming at roughly 50mm slabs. This is why I should have used a jig or an Alaskan mill style setup. Not only is this poorly cut, it's bent, so I'm using tools that I know that will give me the reference lines I need. In this case, a spirit level to give me a plumb line and a level line to work with and to try and square it up. I flick a chalk line down to where I feel it gives me the most timber to work with, trying to bring it to a 50mm thick slab. I'm using a Makita 18V circular saw to start with, and it's struggling. I try the reciprocating saw, a hand saw, the timber is too hard. I find Granddad's old Makita corded circ saw, and it has the grunt to cut through. Flipping it onto its live edge, I try to get that straight as flat as possible. Using the 2m spirit level, I rub it up and around to show the high spots and repeat till it's reasonably flat. So yeah, it's pretty bent and there's a lot to take out. This isn't the slab used in the tabletop, but more of a reference to what I had to do for 8 slabs, all of various sizes. I did eventually finish flattening the slab with a 20mm straight cut router bit after bulking it out with various other tools. Now this is the actual slab being used, and I've worked out where I want to make my straight cut be. Using the straight edge as my guide, I make 2 passes, first at half depth and second at full depth. When thicknessing something that doesn't have a pre-flattened side, Use something that does have a determined flat surface, like a sheet of melamine, and hot glue your slab to it. This was reasonably flat at the time, but later it cupped and I had to use the melamine trick. Now I have the other side of the table to join up. I've doweled the two bigger pieces off camera, and these were the offcuts of the timber just seen before. Now I'm using a builder square to again reference a straight line. I realise that I have more to cut off the sapwood, so I go with making the sapwood grains seem like they're all one timber. This smaller piece of timber is from the same tree but a different offcut of a slab. I don't have a jointer, so I made this janky looking thing with an Azito electric plane. On the smaller bit of timber, it catches the front of the timber and spits it back at me. Concept works, it just needs a redesign and a few safety features, plus more rigidity. So after a few deep breaths and some stern words to myself, I set out the final orientation and mark out for doweling. I'm using 10 by 38mm dowels. I purchased a doweling jig after this. It's not worth freehand doweling. It's after this that I purchased a Carbtech 6-fluted carboid planing head for Granddad's old Makita industrial router. camera, I marked out where I wanted the tabletop to sit on its frame and routed a groove into it. I'm now just scuffing up the live edge with a nylon brush in my old 18-volt wall impact driver. So you can see in the middle where it's stepped. That's because I didn't use a doweling jig. I'm giving the live edge a convex finish on the top and the bottom to match its angle. And the three sides a concave flush trim finish. The underside here with the lines running through the middle were from the electric hand plane while trying to flatten the stem. It's on the underside, I'm not particularly worried about it. I've off camera applied 2 coats of clear Monocell marine grade varnish by Point some, and am in the process of sanding back with 240 grit using an 18-volt Makita orbital sander. Alas, this was actually 120 grit. So while I was using a sponge roller, it only occurred to me, after I put a third thick coat on the top, and I was still dumbfounded as why I watched it bubble and dry, that I should be using a proper applicator to push it around and leave it looking smooth, and not ever so ripply. Now I'm finally putting the final coat on. 4 coats on the bottom, 6 on the top, because 2 got sanded off. Thanks again for stopping by. I have other things I've done up in the top right corner if you're interested. If you want to see more of the behind the scenes, check out my Instagram, Crazy Paul's How To. Cheerio.